Let's see if we're working. Okay. Looks like we are working to me. Well, what do we got today? We got some goat men. I always love me a good goat man. So yesterday we had a stop off at Best Buy, which happens to be right next to one of the hobby shops out here in Hawaii. So I was kind of in a Warhammer mode, so I picked myself up a new Warhammer kit because I had some new nurgle stuff. Uh, and these are the new pestigors. They actually are called pestigors. I was kind of second guessing myself there for a second because, yeah. I'm like, I don't know if that's actually what the kit's called, but this is the box for it. Um, I really don't like how these are painted on this box. They're painted very much like how GW paints plague bearers. So kind of like greeny, kind of rotten flesh. But really, these are beastmen that worship Nurgle, right? So they're going to have some rotten flesh and stuff, but first and foremost, they're also beastmen, right? Like, so they probably really should have some fur kind of on a good chunk of them. So yeah. But yeah, I got these guys together yesterday. Built them all up. Got them primed last night. There's some really cool sculpts and poses in here. You can see I've sculpted some junk on all of them because they're goats. They should have big floppy junk. Um, yeah, there's some really cool like poses and stuff. I really like this guy with the banner. I think he's just the fucking bomb. A big fan of the banner guy. So he's really cool. Um, yeah, someone got some like cloth and stuff. But yeah, overall they're nice looking models. I gave the leader 2 weapons because that's cooler. Hello. Um, but yeah, overall nice looking models. I do wish they had sculpted the faces to be a little more goat-like because they're a little plague bearers-y. Like they don't really have like goat kind of noses or snoots. Um, and I kind of wish they would have done that. I think it'll look fine once I put them into goat colors, but honestly, I think that would look really nice if they had actually done some of that on here already. Um, but yeah, the one really gigantic downside of this, and if I played Age of Sigmar, I would be super pissed about these models. Because in this box, you get 10 of them, which makes them about $6 a piece, which is fucking expensive as shit for a miniature. But you get 10 of them, and 7 of the miniatures have no options. And the 3 that do have options are because you can either build a regular guy or one of the characters, like this mage guy or the banner guy, right? They don't really have options in the traditional way of like, oh, I want to build this pose or that pose, or I want to switch the hands or whatever, right? That's not what they have. So honestly, I like them, and they're going to be really cool for stuff like Star Quest or Rangers of Shadow Deep. But if I was playing Age of Sigmar, I would be so pissed about these models. Because if you buy 20 of them, right, so if you buy 2 boxes, because you want a 20-man unit or 2 10 units, if you buy that, more than 70% of your models are going to be identical with 0 customization. And that to me is insane. So, yeah. Like, these are awesome for me, but if I was a bigger scale wargamer, I would not be happy. Because I definitely don't want units of identical dudes. That does not sound like a good time to me. So, also, I am using a new, lens on my camera that my husband got me for Valentine's Day. So we're gonna see how it does. I'm hoping what we might actually do. Let's actually try putting this in the manual and play with it a little bit if you don't mind. What we might actually do is actually just zoom in on the mini so that we stop like focusing on my hands so much. Yeah, like that. Yeah, I think that'll work pretty good. So let's try that. We'll do the manual focus. We'll give it a shot. See how it goes. So I kind of have a scheme for my nurgle stuff already. And you can see I started filling in some colors on this guy already. I just wanted to get some base coats down. I got up pretty early this morning, so I was actually already working on these guys this morning. And to be honest, I think we'll get to more interesting painting if I just pick up one of the ones that I kind of already started. Really, the only steps that you missed on this guy are a brown base coat, and then I started just doing some of the details, so like his straps here, the armor, stuff like that. But I think we'll get to the more interesting stuff if we continue with this guy versus start over. So um, my plan for these is to kind of make them match my existing nurgle stuff, because I do really like my nurgle scheme. So I've shown off some of my nurgle miniatures before. I'll grab one here again in a second once I get all this red one. But the idea is kind of like red cloth and then neon green armor with lots and lots of like dirt and grime and stuff like that on it. And the bright green really lets it show off. And honestly, red and green being kind of a nasty color combination, I think works well for the miniatures. Given that it's supposed to be nurgle and stuff's kind of supposed to be gross, I think it's a nice little way to reinforce kind of the grossness of the minis by doing a really gross, like inherently kind of like bad color scheme. I think it's kind of interesting, right? Like neon green and red is like Barf Town, so I think that's kind of fun to kind of reinforce the theme with our colors. Where at the same time, it also ends up actually looking kind of neat. So, kind of a big fan. So let me grab one to show them off. Okay. So this is Plague Marine that I did. All right. So kind of this, pardon the dog hair side effect of having a Shiba Inu. But the same kind of gross, nasty, bright armor, and then kind of weathered down with lots of like gunk and stuff. And you can see I have some bunch of rust on there, and a bunch of like copper, and then also some orange highlights along with the red. So that's kind of what my Nurgle goal is this kind of look. I'm a pretty big fan of it. And then this This is actually a pestigor. This is from the old Blood Bowl team. So that's kind of what the models from Blood Bowl look like for pestigors. Man, I need to get like a little handheld vacuum so I can just update these guys every now and then. But yeah, you can kind of see he's pretty grody. But that's kind of like what one of the old pestigors looked like. So yeah, so that's sort of our goal with the armor. So, but first off, we got to get all these details in, and then we can kind of get to the armor from there. All right. So this is some warm brown. I love Pro Acryl paints. They're really nice. This is just their kind of like nice kind of like browny brown. I don't really know how to describe it. Um, it's got like a tiny tinge like a yellow to it. It's really good. It works really good for a lot of different things like wood and all kinds of stuff. And apparently it is super empty. Yes. Wow. Okay. I've used the shit out of this one. All right. Well, we're just going to go fishing then. That's what we're going to do because we don't need that much anyway. Because each one of these guys has like a two-handed weapon. I was kind of hoping, honestly, there would be some options for like shields with some of these. I probably should have kipeshed some shields because I think it would have looked nice on the minis. And I think the ones that came with that new Warhammer Quest game, I think they have shields. Even though they're also very monopose from what I understand. But at least they have options. But yeah, so overall I like these minis, but I am thank you. I am kind of disappointed in the lack of options. Because last year I did that thing where like my big thing to get into the year was kind of the like multi-part plastic kits from like Frostgrave and all those, right? Like I had a couple of them, but I bought like a shit ton of them last year. That was kind of my like new hobby thing to get into, right? And I really enjoyed those, but they honestly kind of spoiled me a little bit. Um, so when I've got just pure monopose stuff, I'm kind of like, man, that'd be really cool to, if there was some more stuff in these, you know what I mean? Some more options and stuff. Also, I'm seeing now that the color I'm using for the wraps and the color I'm using for the sticks are extremely similar. So we're going to probably have to change those up a little bit. But it's okay. We'll we'll update the color for the wraps in a minute. So I think if we're going to do that, we'll probably update the color for the belts and stuff then too. Maybe we'll keep the wraps and the weapons separate. I don't know. So this guy is kind of a gray base. The other guy's like a lighter brown base. I kind of want to do one as a tan too, because like that's kind of a goat color in my mind. Maybe the mage would be like black or something. Like what is that? What is that famous evil black goat? Like Evil Philip or something he's named, right? Kind of what I was thinking he'd be. All right, so copper is the nurgle color in my brain, so we gotta have some copper. This is like the nurgle metal color. I don't know why, because it's interesting because I never patina my copper on nurgle stuff. I don't know why. I feel like it would be a good case for it, right? Given that that's basically like a kind of rust and all like a kind of decay, I feel like it would fit really well. For whatever reason, I never do. I think it's because maybe I'm already using such a bright green armor. I kind of don't want to give the impression that the armor is all patinaed, right? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know why I don't do it, but I never do. Alright, so right now I'm just picking out his little doodads. He's got a bunch of like little trinkets and stuff. Um, I was debating doing his weapon, but I think we'll save that. Yeah, he's got these little like coin scale mail things. So we're gonna hit those. But yeah, and it's nice to see nurgle getting new models. Especially considering this army had like 2 kits in it. One of them was from Warcry. I don't even know if you can still get that kit. But it's nice to see them getting new models. Um, yeah. They have like a new set of horses that look really cool, but god damn they're expensive. I know, I complain about GW prices like every single video. I apologize, but it's really hard not to, to be honest. When in 5 years they've literally doubled in price. It's pretty rough. Like I just don't. This is kind of a splurge, right? Like I just don't feel really good buying their stuff anymore because of the crazy price, you know? Yeah, let's go through and we'll just get all this copper. Now, I do like to use streaking grime on these guys. I think it works really well for the nurgle stuff, but we're probably not going to get to that today. But we should get through washes and all the detail painting at least. So I will say, holy shit, these guys have a lot of details. Like, I am shocked how many details they have. Let's see. Where's the silver? Did I not grab the silver? I didn't grab the silver. Did I just put the silver back on the wall? I did. Why did I do that? Who knows? Ugh. Yeah, I'm just going to touch up that silver so we can let that sit a little bit. Because we'll be doing rust and all on this shortly, so there we go. Just because I had hit this by accident earlier. Alright, so let's start getting some of these like boils and stuff painted in. So we're going to do 2 different things for that. For one of them, we're going to do them in purple. So this is Diabolic Plum. I love this purple color. I think this is probably my favorite purple color out of every purple color I have. It's just so rich and it covers so well. Like, you can just see it go right on. And it's like, yep, that's some kind of weird growth. Right? It's just so nice. So he's got kind of like another one like here in the side of his face. So I think we'll paint that in too. And then some of these we're going to do in like flesh and then hit them with um, like a rot colored wash too. So we're not going to do all the boils and stuff in purple. But we're going to do some of them for sure. Just try to get some neat little coverage across the body. It's really what we're looking for. You know, a little bit of color here and there. So these are going to get colored down, but we will then hit them with a special wash afterwards. And if we miss a little bit around them, that's perfectly fine. I mean, that's just the skin around it. doing its thing. You know what I mean? These things are boils and stuff. They're not like armor plates, you know? So there is going to be some bleed over and stuff for these guys. I do think I need to grab a skin color too. I don't think I grabbed one. Oh well. I'll have to do that in a minute. See, you can see he's got kind of these big sores. We're going to do those in the skin color. Let's see, got a couple boils here in the back. We'll do those in purple. There we go. And then let's see, there's a couple little ones like on the neck. I think we'll end up losing sight of these after we do washes and stuff, but we'll put them in for now. Oh, he's got a big one on his hip. Let's do that too. God, that'd be such a painful place to have a boil. As a big fat guy, I feel being built like this guy, like, man, God, right there in like the side of your roll. Oh, that would be so bad. But yeah, you can see there's some more there, but I don't want to do all of them in the purple, just most of them, you know what I mean? All right, so let's see. All right, we need that flesh color. Ooh. How about some tooth and coats? These are nice paints, but honestly, because nowhere sells them out here in Hawaii, I only use them when, like, I don't need to replicate this color. You know what I mean? Like if the other pestigors like wounds are a slightly different color, like that's fine. You know what I mean? Um, I don't care about that. So, but like it covers really nice. It does a good job. These really are nice paints, but you just can't get them out here, so I don't tend to use them for anything kind of more than like one-offs. You know what I mean? All right, we're just gonna hit around the edges a little bit as well. Okay, and then we're gonna give his balls a little bit of pink as well. They don't actually come with balls, by the way. That was me and some green stuff. Because they're goat men and they should have big floppy goat nuts. I feel like that's a requirement to being a goat man. And the thing with these are, like, my nurgle demons I didn't give them genitals, because they're demons, but these things are people that became goat monsters that are twisted by nurgle, right? Like, the order of operations is person to, like, goat person to worshiping nurgle. So there's never a point where, like, they're, like, full demons. They're always these, like, kind of half-breed things. All the goat men are. So that's why you can have goat men that aren't aligned to a specific god, but are just kind of universally around. Okay, I do want to hit the inside of his ear a little bit, because I think that makes sense for a goat man. Right. And then, let's see. All right, buddy, we're going to put you off to the side. I'm going to focus on getting one of these guys, all his details in. And then from there, we will, from there, while his details dry a little bit, we'll work on another guy. All right, let's paint in his teefies. Let's see. Yeah, they gave all the goatmen kind of these like demon-esque faces. I'm really not the biggest fan of that, but Apologies, I'm trying to just make sure I see all the, sure I paint the teeth in. So they're a little hard to see. There we go. There we go. And then, let's see, what other colors do we need to do before we do touch-ups? I need a white-ish. This is Company Gray. Let's see. Oh, that neon, crazy neon armor color that I have on there that I painted before the stream. Okay, that one's going to be a little stuck. We get a different white. Oh. All right, it's time for a titanium white. Because we really don't need that much because I'm just going to dot the eyes. We're gonna do our little hacky option of just opening this up and getting some paint out of it. All right, so see, that's why I did not want to paint the eyes first. So I really screwed those up. They're totally screwed up. I screwed up both of them in different ways even. Screwed them up about as much as you could. But that's the joy of painting. When we fuck up, we can go back and fix it. Nice and easy. All right, and now it's time to, well, you know what? Let's, uh, you know what? I think we're going to switch browns for the wood, is what we're going to do. I was using that Proacryl brown, but it's too close to the leather color that I already painted. So I think if we switch this to a darker brown for the wood, that'll mean that we can keep the handles and all the chest leathers the same color, because I do like that color for like leather straps and boots and stuff. I got way too much of this out, by the way. But yeah, so you can really see the difference now between this color and the warm brown, or the color I'd used as the handle. You can really see that difference there. So we'll do that instead. I think that's the better route forward. Yeah, we'll just have darker wood for their weapons. Yeah, I think that's fine. I like that. Okay, so let's touch up that strap brown, I guess, really quick. So this is fur brown. That's what that strap color is. So we'll touch that up really quick. Just in a couple spots I noticed that I had missed. All right. See, I've got this really tiny, tiny brush today. My husband got me some new brushes for Valentine's Day too. So my previous detail brush, which is kind of a little older, um, he's going to become my base coating brush. Yeah, just going around and touching up that strap. That goes around his body and holds his one tiny piece of armor on. All right. Okay. All right, now I think it's skin touch up, and then we can let this guy sit for a little bit. Hi, what are you painting today? I am painting the pestigors from Games Workshop's new nurgle editions that they just did a couple of weeks ago. So these are Chaos Beastmen aligned to nurgle. So kind of like rot and weird growths and all that kind of goodness, but they are beastmen. So you get the joy of body horror with the joy of beastman. It's kind of two of my favorite things right there. I don't often buy GW models anymore, so I will say these are a little lackluster in some ways. They don't really have any options. You kind of just get the one monopose mini. So if you wanted more than one box of these, over 70% of your unit would be duplicates. And if you wanted more than two boxes, 100% of your units would all be duplicates. Without kit bashing and doing your own additions and that kind of stuff. So, we'll say it's a little disappointing. I would have liked them to at least have interchangeable heads. That's kind of what I was expecting them to have at the very least, so that you kind of just pick what head you want for which body. But all the heads and the bodies are not universal. They kind of line up exactly. Which is a little disappointing. But I really am going to probably, I think my plan is to use these guys for Rangers of Shadowdeep. So, I don't think that's not going to work. That's not going to bother me. But if I played bigger scale army games, I would be very annoyed at these models. So, it's worth me mentioning, you know what I mean? Even though it's only a slight annoyance to me. It's not like, you know, it's not like I have 60 of these. You know what I mean? I've got 10 of them and that's it. Right? I'm never going to get another box of these guys. So, yeah. But yeah, there's a couple other things that came out with this line. There's some guys on like plague horses that are really cool. These really neat, kind of like rotted horses. There's some like generic kind of foot troop nurgle guys, which are kind of neat. And then there's like fancier Blight Kings who are kind of like bigger, heavier troop guys. And they're all pretty cool minis, not gonna lie. I only ever done one work and that's it. Just found all the Citadel paints I got and they're in a good state after years of sitting, so I need to see if I can save them. You can give it a shot. I mean, you can try mixing in water and medium to try to save them. To be honest, I don't have any Citadel paints anymore. So I'm going to set this guy to the side and let him cure a little bit before we do washes. So we're just going to let him sit, and we're just going to work on another guy while he sits there. But yeah, I don't have any Citadel paints anymore. I used to have all Citadel paints, but honestly, being in Hawaii, they don't work very well out here. And that's to say they dry out like instantly. they do not last very long. So I moved entirely to paints with dropper bottles. Like Army Painter Fanatics paints are phenomenal. Um, and Vallejo and Proacryl. And as I was using a little bit earlier, actually some too thin coats too, but I don't often use those. But yeah, if I had to say anything, I think Army Painter would probably be my favorite paints at the moment. All right, so let's see. So this guy's got a big ass growth on the side of his face. So we'll paint that in. Let's do his teeth first. And I think I actually kind of want to screw with his horns too, because I don't want everybody just to have the same horn color. So I think we'll screw with his horns a little bit. I think I'm going to take the same thing and work it up. And we'll do like the bottom being black and the tip being a darker color. And then we'll hit this with a brown speed paint. And it should kind of merge the two and look pretty sweet. That's what we'll try to do in a minute. You know, after all the washes and stuff. I think that'll look pretty cool. All right, let's see. Let's get that purple. Going back to more Diabolic Plum. Some of them are spirited and Rust One thicked up. Split. And fair enough. Gotta get what works for you. Yeah, there's definitely some Citadel colors I miss. Jaguar Orange and something Sunset. They were both great colors. And man, I used to swear by Agrax Earthshade. And then they changed the formulation, and now I don't like it. Now I almost exclusively use Strong Tone for my washes. The new Agrax Earthshade is much like thicker, and it kind of behaves more like a paint than a wash does. So not a fan of that anymore. So yeah, let's get his purple on there. But yeah, being out here, the paints do not like behave well from GW. So I think it has something to do with like the air and the humidity and stuff. Not so much with like heat, but yeah, just interesting. All right, so same thing as the other guy. I'm just going around doing little boils here and there. This guy's got a lot more boils than the other guy, but I also want to make sure that he's going to have he's going to have like gross green spots as well. You know what I mean? I don't want him to just have the purple boils, so we're going to kind of pick and choose as we go around our model here the different boils that we do. Again, painting outside the lines for boil, perfectly fine, because the skin around it would be nasty too. There we go. All right, let's go back and check on our other guy. All right, how's he looking? Not too bad, not too bad. I would like to give the paint a little bit more time to cure, so because of that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do our speed paint for his gross skin in the meantime. And then we'll just do an overall wash over everything. Got myself base Screamer pink and Wazdaka red. Using what came with kit on one figure and loved how they came out. Definitely need to get back into miniatures. Nice. Yeah, Screamer pink is a fun color. It is very bright. And Wazdaka red, I think it's just a bright red too. Let's get a little more mix. So this is a speed paint. GW calls these contrast paints. What they are is kind of a thin paint slash filter, and they apply not only a color, but kind of like a pattern of color as it like seeps and runs into holes and stuff. So kind of like a wash, but thicker. And they're very good for like toning an area because they're very transparent. So if you want them, if you kind of want an area to have like a slight variation and like kind of like tone to it, that's what these are great for. So because of that, I'm going to use it. I guess I only did those boils there. Thought we did more than that, but I guess not. Okay. Well, we'll hit a couple more then, even though we didn't do the TN underneath. Guess we only did those spots. Alright. And we'll get here at the base of the spine too, because that also looks pretty gross. Right there. We'll do right here too. Just kind of give him some gross green patches. You see, you really want to apply these thickly because they need to have enough paint to kind of like run and stuff like that. So, all right, so now we'll let him sit, and then once that's dry, he'll be ready for washes. Oh, let's see. Love the hot pink and red combo. I don't know if I've ever painted something hot pink and red. Looking the layers here to get a resin printer. Make my own models, but print to paint. Yeah, I mean, I love my resin printer. I print tons of stuff, so I would highly recommend it as I look around for something that I printed that's not painted. Oh, here's a good example. So these are Quar from War Games Atlantic. But I wanted them to be possums, so I 3D printed little possum heads for them. And then I wanted them to actually have like helmets and stuff that kind of matched their kit. So I modeled and 3D printed them helmets as well. So 3D printing is pretty dope. I highly recommend it. If I'm totally honest, once FTM printing gets a little bit better, you'll be able to do miniatures in that too, but that's going to be a little while still. All right, so let's get some more details done on this guy while we wait for the other one. The other guy's just going to take a couple minutes. And we'll try to lay down some of that like taupe, kind of pinky flesh tone color for to use as a base for the green later. I was gonna ask if they were possums. Yeah, they are possums. The possum heads are from they're from a thing called what is his name? He's on My Mini Factory. I am totally blanking. He does modular like different kits for various games. So he did some for like animal people for what is the name of that game? Birds and Batters. Um, that's where the heads came from, and then the helmets I just modeled. I did them in Tinker CAD. Yeah, that's what it's called. It's called Tinker CAD. Which is a free online tool for kind of like 3D modeling. So yeah, but yeah, highly recommend 3D printing. It is very fun. Just make sure you have a safe place to print. Um, Also, I do also highly recommend FDM printing. It is great for doing things like terrain and stuff like that as well. So really, really good. My FDM printer is actually running right now. You might actually be able to hear it in the garage. But it's actually running right now to print terrain that I'm going to use for Warriors of Athena. And I'm going to play Warriors of Athena using models from the game Conquest. So it's printing out some terrain kind of themed for that at the moment. Be putting it in my Garagin, which I'm guessing is garage. Um, yeah, that's where mine is. Just it's important to keep it somewhere safe. Because resin is an irritant. Now, I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. But resin's like an irritant. So, if you get it on your hands and stuff, like it will kind of like irritate your skin. But the really toxic part about 3D printing that everyone always is like 3D printing is so toxic. It's when the resin's curing the like smells that it makes that are pretty toxic. So at least that's what I've come to understand. Like I said, not a medical doctor, not medical advice. Um, but yeah, so just having it somewhere that you can just like kind of like let it air out is the secret to resin 3D printing. But yeah, right now I actually have a bunch of stuff that I 3D printed out back curing because I don't really like the curing machines since I live in Hawaii and I can cure stuff like all year long. I usually just kind of put it out back, like in the sun. But I've got some stuff curing right now that is um, uh, kind of like meaty automatons. So like horrifying hybrids of man and machine and like corpses and stuff like that. Um, and those came from Station Forge. They have a couple kits that they call Cyber Barbarians, and they are fantastic for that kind of horrifying man and machine hybrid. Um, but yeah, they're out back curing right now, or I would show them off. But yeah, very very fun. Because I did the Wargames Atlantic automatons. We built and kit bashed a whole bunch of those on the channel when they first came out. So I've been painting those, and I've been mixing in stuff from Maker's Cult, from a line called the Arn Hive, who are kind of like machine taken over, like biomechanical versions of Tyranids. And yeah, I'm quite happy with them. So I've got some more guys kind of to go to that army. Those minis actually not last week, the week before when I played StarQuest on the channel to get kind of back in the swing of playing games on the channel. The bad guys from that are those automatons. I just want to get some better color on this horn. I think we need to touch up his teeth too. Yeah, there we go. All right, let's hit his eye, and then we'll let him sit for a little bit, because I think it's probably time to do washes on our other boy. And we'll just kind of go back and forth between our two models, letting them sit, doing washes, etc. Oh, I guess we can do this guy's green too. Nice. All right. But yeah, if you get a 3D printer, big companies check out one-page rules. They're so great in every regard. Station Forge, also phenomenal. I really like Maker's Cult all of a sudden as well. So one-page rules is the like free quote-unquote simpler Warhammer. It's kind of these days kind of my game of choice. So like last weekend when I played game on the channel, I was playing the solo and co-op game from One Page Rules called Star Quest. And just had an absolute blast with it. Been definitely wanting to get more games in on the channel. But honestly, that takes a lot of a lot of energy, and kind of had been having a lot going on, so I haven't quite had that energy recently. So, yeah. So even the 2 weeks ago when I played, I actually split up the setup for that game across 2 days. Like I'd set up the table and gotten the area all cleaned and everything. An entire day prior before I actually played, just to kind of make it a little bit easier on myself. All right. Okay, so this guy then is ready to sit and wait for his washes, and let me get some washes. Okay, so I've got couple different colors here to do for Russ. We'll do that after we do our washes. And the other things I have are strong tone and some medium. Now, because this is nurgle, I do want it to be dirtier. So usually I do a 50-50 mix of wash to medium, so that there we go. 2, 3. But usually I do a 50-50 mix to wash to medium, so that the wash doesn't taint and like tone the paint underneath too much, but just kind of like darkens it and kind of like gives it little highlights or downlights, I guess, lowlights you would say. But because this is nurgle stuff, we're actually going to do a little bit darker than that. So I'm going to do, I don't know, 5 drops, 3 drops, 5 drops strong tone, 3 drops medium, I think. So should drop that ratio pretty heavy. Yeah. All right. And yeah, then we're just going to put this all over the model. Now, the speed paints do reactivate a little bit. So I'm just going to be gentle going over the areas that I know there are speed paint. Because I don't want to like reactivate that and kind of drag it all over the model. That's not a good idea of fun time for me. So we're not going to do that. But yeah, just going to get this literally everywhere. And it's going to give us some nice gross stuff in the crevices. And yeah. I'm going to hit literally everything. All right. There we go. Okay. Now, next step in washes is going along and like patting at the model. And what we're trying to do here is we're just trying to remove areas that I feel like there's too much. As I get a ton of copper on his face. That's great. That's, wow. He now looks like he is from, oh, what is the name of that movie? Fury Road, where they like spray their teeth. Well, that's not great. Don't paint over top of your palette, everybody, or else you'll wind up with copper face, McCopper face, like I just got. There we go. All right. Got all of that off. Ay, ay, ay. However, that means that area now needs more wash. Okay. But yeah, just gonna go around the model and kind of pat at certain areas. And try to make sure there's just not too much pooling. They call this coffee staining, where the washes or speed paint will sit kind of in like little pools on flat surfaces. It's just kind of what we want to make sure we don't get. Now, like down here in the weapon, I'm actually just going to redistribute that wash because I want the weapon to be extra dirty. All right, so. But yeah, just kind of walking around, making sure we don't have too much of that coffee staining, right? Like here on the back's a good example, right? And clean that up nice and easy. Here in the spine. And yeah. And that's all of our initial wash applications all done. Which is pretty darn fun. Now our other guy is probably also ready for washes now. So we can do him too. And again, I'm going to try to be extra careful. on the areas I know have speed paint because I don't want to reactivate the speed paint. Because he's only been drying for like a couple of minutes, right? So it's not like a problem with speed paints that it's going to reactivate, like a lot of people used to complain about. It's more that I'm not giving him the correct amount of time to dry here, right? Because we're on stream, because I'm going a little bit fast, um, he's not getting the correct time to like what they call cure, which is where the paint kind of like dries and also um, like really connects with the model. Um, so yeah, he's not getting that time. So we're just going to make sure we're a little gentle on the areas that we know have speed paint. And then again, we walk around and we dab at the model. Just kind of make sure those, there's not a whole lot of pulling here and there in areas we don't want it. So, like this leg's a good example. There's a lot of pulling here, so we're just gonna pick that off. Yeah, there we go. Just like that, we've got another one all done with washes. Now this guy does have that weird two-tone horn that we did, so we're going to go ahead. I got this. It's called Brownish Decay. I've been wanting to try this out, so we're going to give this a go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this onto the horn, and I'm going to paint it in a downward motion toward the black area. So ideally, the tip will have less than the lower part of the horn. So I think because of the wash, this might have to get a coat after the wash dries. Yeah. I think that's going to have to get a coat after the wash dries. But because everything's wet still, I can come back with a wet brush and pull it off a little bit and like get it to a little bit, not blending, but like just sit in less areas on the tip. So the tip is a little bit brighter. All right, that's kind of what I want. I kind of want like a little bit of like a transition there. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. That's pretty good. Yeah, I dig that. Okay, cool. I got how to off, take care, and drop by again. Super. Cool. Well, thank you for coming and hanging out. I always appreciate hearing about people's journeys into the hobby. It's a very fascinating topic to me because everybody's journey is kind of different, and I think that's neat. Like a lot of people will share some aspects of their hobby journey, right? Like what games they start with and stuff. But I don't know. Wargaming is such a big phenomenon, like, and there is so much to it once you kind of like get into it. Um, like different games and making your own rules and kit bashing or 3D printing and 3D modeling and that's really neat. And I think probably one of the coolest things about wargaming, right? All right, so this is Dark Rust from Army Painter. It's a slightly textured Paint. Um, it's got like a little bit of grit in it, and it's pretty awesome. I use it as the base for my rust colors, and we'll do the rest of the colors too, but this is gonna have to dry for a minute first. All right, and then this guy's got this canteen thing, so we'll do some rust down there too. You know, that blacky kind of speed paint, what would that look like if I put it on his teeth? Let's see. That just kind of make his mouth look extra nasty. Yeah, it's kind of cool. I like that. All right, we're going to use that brownish decay on their teeth then too. Just give them a little bit of extra gross smile in there. Yeah, I like that. It kind of sits in there really nice. That's good. You're welcome. I actually just found my first painted noodles. Can't wait to get back into it. Take care. Painted noodles. Ooh, what kind of miniature would you call a noodle? Tyranids, maybe? I could see Tyranids maybe being noodles. Bunch of Snake Men and because he said it was Warhammer. They said it was Warhammer. What are those snake guys called? And the Robot Force. And the Necrons. What are they called? I could see them being called noodles too. Maybe some kind of dragon. Maybe I've seen people call dragons noodles. Anyway, but yeah. So, um, yeah. So let's play around with a little bit of these speed paints a little bit more. I'm gonna kind of dab it around a little bit. See if we can get a little bit more color of it. I think I picked a little bit more of this off the model than I wanted to when I was doing the wash. So I think I'm gonna just go around and a little dab, a little place here and there, you know. Just give it a little dabby. I feel like I pulled a lot off of this piece here. All right. Face only a mother could love. All right. So next up we got some rust. Some more rust, some different rust. So this is fresh rust again from Army Painter, and this is very bright orange rust. And what I like to do with this is I like to go in and kind of just dab it around a little bit, right? And kind of make like little spots and dots. And I've done this on the channel a lot. Now that I've figured out like how I like to paint rust, I've been doing it pretty much in a lot of different metals. So yeah, sometimes the spots are bigger, sometimes they're smaller. But what we want to do is we want to make sure it's kind of on the area where our dark rust is, right? So it's kind of like accentuating the dark rust pit, kind of. And to be completely honest, the crazy bright rust is going to look kind of silly right now, but our next step in the rust is actually a like very thick, kind of oily wash that will kind of tie it all together and darken down the bright rust a little bit and stuff. It's pretty cool. It's another thing from Army Painter for their washes. So, but yeah, so we just kind of want to dab it in there like that. All right, so let's see. Next up, we want to hit our purple areas a little more, give them a little more purple color. So we are going to hit our purple areas with purple tone. And then we're going to kind of maybe highlight them with pink. We'll see. We'll see if we get to that or not. But yeah, we want to hit these with purple tone. It's just going to reinforce the purple color a little bit. Give it a little bit more of like a purple kind of gradient. You really don't have to do this, but I do think it adds something. You know, I think it does. So. And also, we'll probably bleed around the model a little, which I like for these kind of blisters, right? It's going to color the skin around the cyst or whatever it is, right? A good bit. And I think that looks kind of cool, right? So like if we hit this area here, right, I'm going to make sure I hit a little bit around it and not just the dot. Because I want to give the impression that, you know, it's kind of a big, unhealthy kind of growth area, you know? Yeah, I think that adds a good bit to the purple spots there. All right. Do we have any more of that brownie? Let's see. Got a little bit. Just gonna plop it on the armor here. No. So I don't like to make the green armor rusty. I think it kind of looks weird. So not a big fan of that. All right. Next step for us is breaking out the rust tone. There she is. So this is our like oily brown wash. And it's going to kind of discolor everything it touches. It gives you this really like cool kind of like a dirty kind of grossness to it. So you can see as I'm putting it on here, right, it's like it's gonna discolor the silver in addition to discoloring the area that I painted with the rust stuff. Right, it's like very heavy kind of brown wash. And what it will do is it will end up giving us kind of like a cool kind of like stain effect around our rust, right? So like the rust pit is bigger than just where it's kind of like popping up. And I think that looks really cool. I think it's a really nice looking effect. Big fan of this rust wash. It's just going to look like brown and dark while it's going on, but once it dries, you'll get to see it a little bit better. Where it kind of like discolors and kind of brownifies the metal a little bit. All right. And you know what? Fuck it. Let's do the pink on the boils. Just because I'm in the mood to paint a little pink. So this is Impish Rouge. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this and do some highlights um, on our purple area, just to give the purple area a little more characterization. So just kind of paint it in here and there, just to give it a little bit more life. All right, now look for like little edges and tops and little bubbles, just adding some life and style to this purple. If these were bigger areas, I would probably actually dry brush it, but they're not, so. That's too much in that area. Yeah, see? Just a little bit in there like that. Gets looking really cool. Actually, you know what? Trying out this like fixed camera angle. Because I think it'll keep the camera from freaking out when I'm painting, right? Like I don't want it constantly refocusing on my hand, so that's why I'm trying this out. And because my husband got it for me. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna break out the DLSR in a second, so you can get a nice close-up view of kind of all the details on these guys. Because we are kind of going the extra mile with this pink, for example, right? So I think it's definitely worth showing that off. You know what I mean? It's nice to be proud of how your stuff comes out, you know? Feels good. And I think these guys look pretty damn cool. Now, if you did want to do a highlight like this, but didn't want it to be so bright, you could do the highlight and then do the wash over it. I think that would look pretty cool. All right, so let's check out these guys. Now that we got two of them all painted up. Dun, 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 dun. Focus on the mini, not on my fingers, please. Thank you. So yeah, quite happy with them, how they came out. I think they look super cool. Very just big, gross goat boys. Really like choosing that brownish decay on the teeth. That's super cool. I like that a lot. Yeah, so there he is. Lots of fun there. Hell yeah. And that is our goat boys for the day. Oh, so that is two of the new Beasts of Nurgle or Beastman of Nurgle. He's not a Beast of Nurgle. That's a whole different creature. But yeah, 2 of the new Beastmen of Nurgle, the pestigors, all painted up, ready to spread grandfather's gifts across anywhere they can. Oh, I missed a boil. There we go. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and call it there. I want to thank anybody for watching. Hello. I am just wrapping up, unfortunately. We just got done painting our Beasts of Nurgle. No, they're not Beasts of Nurgle. They're Beastmen of Nurgle. They're pestigors. Yeah, we just got done painting our pestigors. So we're being blurry. That's because I turned the autofocus off. They need to be here to be clear. Yeah. I'll learn the single focus camera one day. One day I'll learn it. But yeah. So yeah, there they are. So hopefully we'll break them out in our next game. Maybe Rangers of Shadow Deep. That kind of got a Rangers of Shadow Deep hankering coming. But yeah. So I'm gonna call it there. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching me paint 2 gross Beast Boys. And I hope you have a good one. And as always, keep on